being very closely involved with the Shroffs, the Tiger Shroff, and the whole Shroff family. And they are not just a celebrity family; they are a martial arts family. I would say that, and I mean their work speaks for itself. So we were training together basically, and then we wanted to bring about a concept which would help the Indian athletes to do well.
Hi, Alan. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you, Ananya. I'm well. I hope you well as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking out the time. So, the first question I want to begin with is taking it back to your trajectory and your ingression in MMA because you began as an athlete. So, what led you to pursue MMA as a sport out of
Yes.
all other sports?
I think I would say I was just curious to know what this sport is all about because back in the 90s, it was something very different, something everybody kind of scorned upon, and somebody wondered, okay, what this sport is all about. And it was just kind of not even gaining momentum, I would say. It had just come on the scene. And I was just a curious cat. I just wanted to just figure it out what exactly is going on. And nobody in India, obviously in Southeast Asia at that point, nobody knew what mixed martial arts was all about.
Hmm.
But those days it was introduced as, the winner gets the bragging rights to say he's the best.
Hmm.
And I guess that triggered something in me to pick up something which was not done before. And might sound cliche, but I wanted to be different.
That's very inspiring. But not only were you curious, you became India's first pro MMA fighter. So you became very good at the craft, to say the least. How did you figure out the resources, the training that had to go behind being that person?
Sports in India is still looked on as a second-hand avenue. Pardon my words, but sports is not something that people think of as a career in India. Now things are different, but those days it was something that okay, the guys who are not good at studies would get into sports, and I would take the opportunity to say in Hindi if जो लड़के पढ़ाई में नालायक थे, they would go into sports. That's how it was looked upon those days. But I was good at studies. I'm not bragging. I was great at that. But at the same time, when it came to sports, it was very difficult for us to get into an avenue and figure out the resources. MMA at that point, as well as today, it was an expensive sport because you had to invest a lot of time in eating and nutrition and understanding the concepts, and the training wasn't available in India at that point. So my coach Daniel Isaac, he tried his best to bring all the resources we could. We would download videos, and which would take hours to download because the internet was slow. And then we would download put the download on in the morning, and then by evening it's downloaded. Then we would watch those videos. Then we would practice those videos. So it was tough, but it was all worth it. So I never regret what I did.
Now, the scenario today is quite different. So, if
Yeah.
we shift gears very quickly, what is your role within Matrix Fight Night, and how was that tournament and that promotion, in a sense, conceptualized in the first place?
So the story was actually I would like to say it was inspired by what I did in mixed martial arts, and I wanted to do something which I didn't get as a mixed martial arts fighter, being an Indian. And it was obviously a Western-dominated sport, and people in India didn't really think about it like this can be an alternate career or this can be a career itself. So being very closely involved with the Shroffs, the Tiger Shroff, and the whole Shroff family, and they are not just a celebrity family; they're a martial arts family. I would say that, and I mean their work speaks for itself. So we were training together basically, and then we wanted to bring about a concept which would help the Indian athletes to do well. And yeah, that was just a spark. And then we said, okay, let's open up something which would just cater to the Indian athletes and give them a platform, and inevitably one day give them enough experience and exposure so they can rub shoulders with international competitions. So that's how it all started. A passion project now become big.
Wow. Has the infrastructure and training, because of the effect of having a promotion, a homebred promotion, changed? Has it brought in a newer perspective to training and the infrastructure overall?
Oh, of course it does. In fact, it has infused such a great a positive influence into all of this, because we've had to change gears, because now we are endorsing it in a very, very big way. The sport has been structured really well. We are backed by a lot of people who understand the the whole, what I would say, the shebang behind training, the producing of the fighters, the scouting of the talent, the grassroots level development of athletes, development of the sport, their nutrition, their training gears, their training aids. So there's a lot of stuff that has brought in and changed for good, actually.
Right. But where are you drawing this talent from? Is there a pipeline for an aspiring MMA athlete to get into MFN?
Okay, so we closely work with an organization called All India Mixed Martial Arts Association. This organization is the one which is a legitimate body sanctioning the sport of mixed martial arts from the year 2004, and they help us in scouting talent. They conduct all kind of feeder shows towards our shows. They go out and conduct tournaments at amateur levels. They've been doing this for the last, I would say, 17 years, and we have a pipeline and a training program that is, there's like a pathway that's designed by them. So
Hmm.
we pick our athletes from all these tournaments, and IMA, which is the short abbreviation form for this association, they help us to get in the talent, and then we scout, and then obviously the better ones, the good ones, come on the bigger platform.
Hmm.
So it's a pathway is defined.
Makes sense. Uh, Now, also talking about perception of MMA, many people would sort of consider it a violent sport. Do
Yeah.
you think that plays into the role of how the league or the promotion markets itself and how many fans come to attend? And does that messaging need to change, or does it have its own niche that they don't need to worry about the audience?
I think it's a bit of both, because first of all, it depends where you're doing mixed martial arts. Because see, if it's a Western culture, people understand the booing and the cheering, and they understand, say for example EPL, the English Premier League, the football. You're telling me there is no hooliganism happening outside the stadiums? We all know what happens with that, But sometimes there's pitch invasion. There's so many things that are happening. So violence by itself is not really defined regarding mixed martial arts, just because it's a direct combat sport where two guys come together in a cage, which is scary to look at. But these guys are trained athletes. Nobody wants to delve into that aspect, because these guys who come together, it's their day-to-day living. It's like they're going to office. It's their 9 to 5 job. They're training. They get back in the cage, and they say who's the winner. And these guys are fighting in a set of rules, so which doesn't endorse violence. Just because it's direct combat, people think that it's violent, but it is combat. And to be honest, who doesn't love to see a good fight? I would say that.
Now, just coming to challenges as a whole, what do you think are the most prominent challenges for aspiring MMA athletes? And this is a two-part question. And the second part of the question is, do women athletes face more hurdles or societal norms when they have to penetrate a sport like MMA?
So the challenges basically, obviously, are is money is one something, because the sport, like I said in the beginning, it's a very expensive sport. When I say it's expensive, there is a lot of training aid, there is a lot of structure, there's a lot of foundation that goes into mixed martial arts to do it right. Believe me, there are cheap ways to do it, but then if you do it the cheap way, it's never going to last. Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going not going to be monitored. Somebody's health is at risk. Somebody's life is at risk, for that matter. That's why I say MMA is an expensive sport, because if you do it right, you got to spend the money in the right place, and that's right from the athlete's training, for his health, for his nutrition. There's so much that goes involved. This is the first part. That's one of the biggest challenges. So obviously, when someone comes along as an investor into the sport, that is a big boost to do it right. That's one. Secondly, when you come talk about women, initially it was a very, very difficult thing to do that in India, especially. I mean, there is so much has changed about women empowerment. There's so much of talk about women being stronger individuals. And I personally believe and endorse that women are much stronger than men, because they just don't have the beauty. They also have the brains. For us, it's just the brawn sometimes. And women fighters have become really good. Women fighting has been embraced in India. There is a lot of talk about women training, and MFN by itself has a good roster of female fighters. And soon you'll see a lot of new faces endorsing women's MMA in India. So it's good, I would say that.
Hmm. I'm looking forward to that, definitely.
Yeah,
Uh, Now, when we talk about the whole landscape for sports and entertainment, I mean, these are commercial leagues at the end of the day.
yeah,
But
yeah,
today, a league such as MFN is not just competing against other uh, leagues within MMA, but also
right,
outside that. Basketball is
right,
trying to make a big impact in India. So there's that competitiveness for the attention of a fan. But
yeah.
then there's also entertainment. Today you can basically, with the touch of a button, access anything that you want to. So what are certain growth strategies that the league wants to
Right.
incorporate going forward, maybe in the mid to long term?
See, when we started the MFN, for us, it was always go digital. And thanks to COVID, fortunately, unfortunately, everybody went digital. So it wasn't like, hey, we told you so, we wouldn't want to brag about that, but that we were always into the digital platform. I mean, our Facebook reach was 6 million on the first show.
Oh, wow.
So for us, something to achieve that in within our first month or 3 months of inception was exactly what we were looking for. Uh, did that come in early? I would not say that. Didn't come it at the right time. We were prepared for it. So digitalization of our content was always the goal, and the plan is still very much to go much more digital. And I think for another year or two, thanks to COVID, we are going to be a little small niche, but a very big platform on digital. So that's where we're heading at, whether it's getting our own subscription app, whether it is going big on Facebook, because Facebook is our partner from day one. So whether we establish our own platform, whether we stick with Facebook, that's a call that the management will take very soon.
Hmm.
But yeah, our digital presence is going to be very big now.
Interesting. What's your advice for aspiring MMA athletes out of the country?
Don't give up. Don't give up. That's what I would say, because uh, things are things have changed to all the aspirants who want to try MMA. A lot of people, the word try is not a one-time thing. The try is like a trial. You have to go through it. The process, if you ignore the process, you're not going to reach where you wanted to reach.
Hmm.
It's not something that a trial class you do at the gym and then you say, oh, maybe I'll do it, maybe I'll not do it. But MMA is a process. You cannot, uh, like, I would just briefly bring about the thought of a fighter into this. Nobody in their right mind would want to get into a cage and ask the other guy to punch him or kick him, if you look at it that way. But why I say a fighter has to go through the process, because he has to embrace all of this. He has to understand, okay, I'm training 4 punches. The other guy is also training 4 punches. If I'm going to throw 4 kicks, he's going to throw 4 kicks as well. If he's going to take me down in wrestling takedown, I got to learn how to take the fall. So it's a process. It's a mental process that a fighter has to go through. So that's where young aspirants should always remember. If mentally you're able and prepared and ready to go to the process, I think sky is the limit. And MMA is something that is a very, very exciting thing. I usually, a lot of pundits don't agree with me, but I call it I call it sportainment, because this is one sport which is entertaining as well as it's a sport. So at the end of it all, I really feel the sport has a great, great future in our country. And these guys are trained athletes. So like I said, don't try this at home. Here goes my disclaimer, Ananya. But this is something very, very interesting for the future.
Yeah, we can definitely put a little ticker also scrolling, saying that
Yeah.
and imparting that message. But that's absolutely inspirational. And I see the analogy being drawn to real life as well, for anyone who's
Yeah, of
not only,
course.
of course,
Of
in the
course.
MMA, but also outside of that. That's great advice. Lastly, what can you tell
Yeah,
us about what's
of
next for
course.
Matrix Fight Night and subsequently MMA in the country? Where do you see it headed?
We're coming up with MFN 6, and we are going back to Dubai for our sixth show. And that's where MFN will be visible. And obviously, like I said, it will be digitally available on all our social media and Facebook for that matter. That's the immediate thing that we are looking at. And for the sport of MMA to develop, we also have a chain of MMA gyms in the country. We have MMA Matrix, which is our chain of gyms that we are establishing throughout the country. So what we do with MMA Matrix is that as we are educating people about the sport, not just to the people who want to fight, but also the people who want to just use this MMA as a fitness avenue. Not everybody needs to step in the cage, not everybody needs to fight, but the whole idea of these gyms were to make people aware of mixed martial arts, not be afraid of mixed martial arts, not be afraid to try the fitness routines. You want to be fit like a fighter, you don't have to be a fighter, you don't have to get in the cage, but you can train like them, you can train with them and still be fit. I mean, these athletes are like phenomenal. If you look at them going at each other for 5 minute rounds, sometimes into 3 rounds, sometimes into 5 rounds, it's amazing the kind of fitness level these have. Imagine a layman having that fitness. I think there will be nobody sick in this world. So that's the plan.
That sounds wonderful. We're all looking forward to that. That brings me to the end of my questions. Thank you so much for taking out the time to do this. Really appreciate everything that you could share with us around MMA and MFN.
Thank you, Ananya. It's been my pleasure, and hope you do well and stay safe.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share for the best tips and trends in the world of sports business, wherever you listen to podcasts. Reach out over social media to connect or collaborate. Links will be in the bio. See you next time.